It's the second day after the Nintendo Switch 2 has launched. I have put an obnoxious amount of time on this system already, and we need to talk about if this system was actually worth all of the hype. Now, like I said, I've been playing the Nintendo Switch 2 for a ridiculous amount of time, getting very little sleep over the last couple days between going to the midnight launch, picking up the system, getting it home, and just starting to play games on it. But I have played a ton of different games on this system, and I can safely say that my experience has been overwhelmingly positive with the Nintendo Switch 2. First and foremost, the build quality is just leaps and bounds better than the original Nintendo Switch. There's no Joy-Con rattle, the magnets click in very nice and satisfyingly, and they don't wiggle around all over the place. Now granted, this could probably change over time depending on the strength of the magnet and if it gets a little worn out, what have you, but that issue is years down the road, and you could likely just buy replacement Joy-Cons at that point. On top of that, the overall material that they used for the Switch 2 just feels a bit more premium than the previous Nintendo Switch. It has just this more solid build. It doesn't feel like it's gonna snap in half in your hands like the previous Switch did, so I really like that. But on top of that, the screen, for not being an OLED screen, is absolutely beautiful. I love how bright and colorful the games are. Playing Mario Kart handheld is a blast. Playing every game handheld. I played a ton of Tears of the Kingdom handheld. It's all just fantastic looking on this new screen. I genuinely can't tell a difference between my OLED versus my Nintendo Switch 2, which is pretty much what you're looking for out of an LCD screen. But also just the size difference is such a huge bump up between the OLED Switch or the base model Nintendo Switch to the Switch 2. It is a monster in your hands, but because they were able to keep the form factor the same and not have it be any larger, similarly to the size of what a Steam Deck would be, it's still comfortable to hold in your hand, but also still easy to transport around, and it's not taking up a ton of room. I really like the form factor and the power that this system provides. But now we can start diving in a little bit more to the games and some of the other features that this console has. First and foremost, the Joy-Cons themselves just feel way better. The buttons, I like how they press in, they're a little more clicky, and the Joy-Cons analog sticks are very, very nice. I don't know what it is about them. They have a little bit of an indent on them, and they stick out a touch farther, it feels, from the original Joy-Cons, and I just like how they fit in the hand better. It could also be just simply because they're a bit larger than the last Joy-Cons. They're just a bit more comfortable to hold versus the tiny ones that you're kind of cramped around. The new Joy-Cons are just incredibly nice. And the other thing with the new Joy-Cons is the mouse mode, and I actually tested this out a fair bit yesterday with Civilization 7 and just using this as a mouse, and it's very comfortable. It's not something that I think is the best thing. I tried it out in Cyberpunk as well, and I did not like it in Cyberpunk. That could be simply because Cyberpunk was running at 30 frames a second, and with moving all over the place as quickly as you can with the mouse, it doesn't register quite as nicely. It kind of looks a little stuttery if you're doing it that way. But if you are playing games at a higher frame rate, the mouse is working very, very nicely, and I'd imagine things like Metroid Prime later down the road are going to look really nice with the mouse controls and feel really good with the mouse controls. And it could just be a me thing with Cyberpunk, but when I was using the mouse controls, I was like, good lord, I'm like losing my mind with all the, like, it's not even that it drops frames, it's just you're moving so fast, it just looks kind of weird, and that could have even been a motion blur thing that needed turned off when using mouse controls. But yeah, the mouse controls for me, I think, are a serious game changer. There's so many different ways that you can play games now with the Switch 2, and I was concerned that this Joy-Con holding it out like this would be uncomfortable, but it's actually not bad. I played for like an hour and a half playing Civilization with my hand on the controller the entire time, and it was super comfortable. So for me, I think the mouse controls are just a massive step in the right direction for this system. It's a huge, awesome new way to play games, and I'm really excited for when Fortnite rolls out their mouse control mode. They delayed it for their Switch 2 version of Fortnite. I really wanted to try it there, but Cyberpunk and Civilization will have to do for now. And on the subject of Cyberpunk, let's just migrate into games in general. I've seen the sentiment online that, you know, Mario Kart is one of the only new quote-unquote games for the Nintendo Switch 2, and there are a handful of new games. Looking at Mario Kart, there's the Welcome Tour, there's Fast Fusion, there's a lot of games that dropped specifically for the Nintendo Switch 2. But yes, Nintendo likes the cadence of being able to put out a new exclusive game once a month. For me personally, I'm big on that strategy. I like having a new game every month to play, so that way my interest doesn't die in the system. And Mario Kart is more than enough for me. So much to do in Mario Kart, and we'll have a separate video talking about that, but this was the perfect launch title in my opinion for getting not only the hardcore gamers in like myself that love Mario Kart and love the competitiveness that Mario Kart can provide, but also the casual gamers, because Mario Kart is such an easy game for people to just pick up and play and have a good time with. So I really think, in my opinion, this is a really solid system seller to get as many people in at launch day versus something like a Legend of Zelda that would get in the hardcore fans on launch day. This is getting everybody in, so I like that a lot. On top of that, Fast Fusion is another one that I tried, and I really like this. This is probably the best looking game on the system right now, and I'm gonna make a separate video about this as well. Best looking game on the system. Welcome Tour I didn't pick up. I still think it should be a pack-in game. I'm standing by that. I did not pick up that Welcome Tour. But as far as the rest of the games are concerned, like I played Cyberpunk. I've already put 4 hours in on Cyberpunk. Loving Cyberpunk on the system. It looks phenomenal and it plays phenomenal, and the different ways you can play versus like controller to gyro controls to mouse controls. You can play Cyberpunk however you want to play Cyberpunk on the Switch too, and I think that's awesome. It plays fantastically docked. I've been playing it on quality mode while docked at 30 frames per second, and I haven't noticed a single frame dip. And I've played it on performance mode on handheld, and it runs fantastically. It's a marvel at how good this game runs. Then the updates, the updated games that are available, looking at things like Hogwarts Legacy, Civilization. I jump back into Tears of the Kingdom, and that's a problem because I've been playing too much Tears of the Kingdom now. Tons of games got updates, so there's genuinely so much to play on the Nintendo Switch 2 that I am just over the moon right now. I'm in one of those situations where I feel like I have too much to play because I have all these other games that I want to go back to and re-experience with the updated graphics or the Switch 2 updates that they got. There is genuinely so much to do on the system, and that's not just for people like myself who have a really big collection. That's for people that are just getting into the Nintendo Switch ecosystem. Perhaps you didn't have a Nintendo Switch and you weren't playing Nintendo Switch at the start of the Switch ecosystem. There are so many games that you could go back to and pick up that still work on the new system. For example, my wife got a Nintendo Switch 2. She got the Mario Kart bundle. She did not play Nintendo Switch. She hopped in, played like one Grand Prix of Mario Kart, and then got Cult of the Lamb because she watched me play Cult of the Lamb on my PlayStation 5. So she picked up Cult of the Lamb on her Switch 2, and she played Cult of the Lamb all last night. There's so many different games that you can hop into that aren't necessarily tied to the Switch 2, and if you are a gamer that missed the Switch generation, there's so much more for you there than people that were already in on the Switch. So there's something for everybody with this launch, and I think with the cadence of there being a monthly game, like we have Donkey Kong Bonanza next month, we've got an unannounced release date for Metroid Prime 4, we've got Kirby Air Ride coming later this year, there's tons of games, Pokemon Legends ZA. All these games are coming this year, and we're going to have something new every single month for the Nintendo Switch 2. For me personally, if this console was worth the cost of admission, yes, I have played a ridiculous amount on it already, and I'm going to play a ridiculous amount more. I'm played so much Mario Kart already. Knockout Tour is fantastic. I'm addicted to it. I hop back into Tears of the Kingdom, and now I'm re-addicted to Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not going to put that game down until I finish it. Like, there's just so much to do, and then we have monthly content coming with the updated games and the new games every single month. There's just so much here, and for $450, $500 if you get Mario Kart, I think that's worth the cost of admission. I think that is the system's build quality and the performance of the games on the system speak for themselves. Yes, they are similarly priced to like PlayStation right now and the Xboxes. If you like Nintendo games, I argue that this console is 100% worth the cost of admission. I love this system, and I will likely play it more than my Xbox and my PlayStation 5 because I was already playing that OLED on the shelf behind me more than my Xbox and my PlayStation 5. So if you like Nintendo or you simply want to take your games on the go, this system is fantastic and I cannot recommend it enough. So I hope this video was helpful and entertaining for you guys. If it was, leave a like and comment because it helps me out, helps the video out, helps the channel out immensely. But until next time, peace.